So I think we're live and we're just waiting for people to join this session on solving the climate and water puzzle. But we'll just give everyone a few more minutes to find their way into this room. Fortunately, we don't have to walk too far in the big arena to get to our sessions, but we know that we still need a few minutes to sort of get into the virtual rooms. So we'll take it slowly here at the start, but welcome everyone. So I think that we have quite a few people in the room. So I'll start slowly and thanking you again for tuning in to the Solving the Water Climate Puzzle by Connecting Youth Stories and Decision Makers. So I'm extremely happy to be able to welcome you to this first, but I'm sure it's not the last time we're having this web-based session of the Young Water Professional series. And this has been organized at the World Water Week in Stockholm for over a decade. My name is Elin Baylor. I'm program manager of the Swedish Waterhouse at CV, and we are hosting this session as one of the co-conveners. And you are able to get in touch with all of us through the session webpage if you need to get in touch with us afterwards. And this is really, for me personally, a highlight every year to be able to support this session. And when I started, I was one of the young professionals, and now I'm not so young anymore, so I'll be very brief here in the introduction. But as you're coming in to this session, you find a poll on your screen, and if you fill this one out, you will help us tailor the session for next year. So we thank you very much for that. The overarching theme for the World Water Week is, of course, the climate crisis. And that's something that has been, or really was, on top of the world's mind just a year ago. And now we grapple with another crisis. And I must say that I've been personally affected by this, as many, and I'm just having a COVID infection. So I'm very happy that I can attend this session and other sessions through the web instead of mingling around in the arena. So I'm happy about that. So I'll just very quickly go through some of the housekeeping rules for this session and information about the setup. We have participants from all over the world, and to make sure that we have enough time for the panel discussions, we have divided into 3 breakout sessions. So shortly you will have to choose which one of the breakout sessions you will want to join with the links pasted in the chat. So make sure that you locate the chat room so you can come into those different breakout sessions. And if you have missed the link, they will be pasted again. So don't worry, you'll get more information about this. And if you just decide to sit back and relax, you will still find yourself in one of the breakout rooms. So don't worry if you feel like it's too much to handle with the technique. Anyways, the 3 breakout rooms themes will be repeated, but they are focused on research, advocacy, and experiences from the field. And the outcomes of this session will be collected and spread on Cartoon Live via the World Water Week session page, but you will also find it in the program and outcomes on the schedule page, as well as on the Facebook pages, of course. So the last point I want to make is just to post questions on technical aspects, send it over the chat. My colleague Amanda Specht, who's our intern now at Swedish Waterhouse. But if you have questions to the speakers, please post those in the Q&A section, so they can be moderated and we keep track of them. So thank you so much. So with that, I'll hand over to Laurie Furneaux, who will introduce our first speaker. So please, Laurie, go ahead.
Thank you very much, Eileen. I'm very happy to introduce our first speaker, Doa Osman. She's a young water and climate professional with a background in water resources engineering. She is here representing the Sudan Youth Parliament for Water, a growing youth network in Sudan. So Doa, you can now turn your mic on for your presentation.
Hello, everybody. Good afternoon. This is Doa. I'm here today to give you a short story about what we have done so far in the Sudanese Youth Parliament. And I'm going to start my presentation now. Okay. First of all, I will give you a short introduction about the establishment of the Sudanese Youth Parliament. Sudanese Youth Parliament for Water is a Sudanese youth network acting for water in the Sudan at local and regional and international levels. Establishment of SYBW in 2016, a steering committee was set up in September 2016 by young people in Sudan to set up the National Youth Parliament for Water. And it was officially launched in January 2017. Our mission is to enhance and assist unlocking the youth potentials to contribute to the reinforcement of SDG 6 in Sudan. Our vision is to envision a Sudan where all young people are inspired, empowered, enlightened, and equipped to address all challenges confronting the water and sanitation in Sudan. What we do, we create a platforms to connect youth to act on the critical issues of water and sanitation and hygiene to achieve SDG 6, and also to collaborate with youth to build their skills, capacity, and knowledge to become change agents. We also enhance education of Sudanese youth about their role in solving water challenges. We advocate youth involvement in decision-making processes to facilitate their understanding of water solution mechanisms. We also ensure the recognition of youth as a key stakeholder in the water sector. We raise youth awareness about water issues and their power to effect change. We promote evidence-based and scientific approaches. We finally support integration and policy integration and mainstreaming. Here I'm going to give you a small introduction about the network. The members are aged between 18 and 35 years old, and the diversity of educational and professional backgrounds of this, it is one of the strengths of the parliament. And all members endorsed and committed to actively contributing to realization of the vision of the parliament. Our network now has been expanded to 1,753 active members, representing the 18 states of Sudan. And female are representing 38% of the total number, and more than 1,000 members are from different states, which cover the overall numbers of states in Sudan. And this is the map of Sudan, and this is our 18 states. So now we succeeded to reach all the states in Sudan. And this is the figures the numbers of the members in each state. And also we have 100 members working outside Sudan, representing, this map is representing their where they based. And also the members, the majors representation are representing about 60 majors, which covers the medical field, the political and social sciences, organization management, physiology, rural development, geography, education, sustainable resource management, environment and climate. All it's about 60 measures representation. So our achievement in less than 4 years, SYBW implemented more than 100 different activities. The main outcomes summarized as follows. SYBW succeeded in cooperating with more than 70 different key and strategic partners across Sudan, such as international NGOs, local NGOs, national university, national research institutes, government authorities, such as the Ministry of Water, Irrigation and Water Resources, private sectors, media, and different embassies. One of our strategic partners is the Ministry of Irrigation and Water Resources. SYBW convinced decision makers that they deserve trust because they lead by examples, and finally succeed after 2 years of hard working to be recognized as an official body representing youth in the water sector. SYBW, in collaboration with the Ministry of Water, Irrigation and Water Resource, held several meetings to discuss the youth need in the water sector. SYBW also assigned by the Minister of Irrigation and Water Resource to coordinate the regional Nile Day 2020, which is an annual day, which is serve as a commemoration of the Nile Basin Day initiative. It is established in February, and every year they celebrate it in February. And SYBW successfully organized the exhibition and the Nile Walk, and they launched a social media campaign to advocate for the regional Nile Day 2020. Also, SYBW, they invited to several interviews at local TVs and radio stations. Also, SYBW organized the commemoration of the World Women Day and World Youth Day across most of the Sudan states. One of the activities also, we also focus on field visits, and our first field visit was conducted by a team consisting of 3 females who did all the field work, including the interviews. They proved that Sudanese females can do a lot in the water sector in Sudan. They also inspired other females to participate in the followed field visits. And I would take this opportunity to say happy Equitable Women Day. I think today is the World Equitable Women Day. Another activity implemented by SYBW, it targeted the children, which covered 1,500 children. Also, SYBW contributing to combating the wave of the national disasters that hit the country, such as the watery diarrhea. SYBW also invited to attend several meetings and workshops at local, regional, and national levels. One of the achievements also, the expanding of the network, which reached more than 1,700 members. And 38 of the members are female, and they are holding a main position in SYBW structure. And the geographical representation of SYBW covers all the states across Sudan. Also, we succeeded in building a diverse network that covers different academic and professional backgrounds, as I said earlier, with more than 60 different fields of studies. And female members participated in more than 90% of the total activities. Here, this is SYBW participation in the Nile Day. This was the exhibition, and this was the Nile Walk, and this was a social media campaign. And also here, this is also the social media campaign, and here we also participated in the roundtable discussions. And here, this is in the exhibition, this is our Minister of Irrigation and Water Resources, and here this is our Minister of Foreign Affairs. who attended the regional day. Also, we had several, as I said earlier, interviews with radio and TV, the local TV and radio stations. And also we participated in the regional workshops such as the water diplomacy. It was in Egypt. Okay, and also one of the achievements, the number of youth in the rural area who participated in the provision of water solution is 200, out of which 100 were female. And the number of female reached and trained by the educational program focal points in the rural areas is 700 women and more than 1,000 young girls. The number of children who took part in the hygiene promotion activities and committed to give back the education their communities is around 3,000 children, and half of them living in refugee camp. And finally, 20 villages reached by SYBW in the north, west, and east of Sudan. Okay, the lesson learned from our experience is, okay, first, we faced a lot of difficulties in convincing the policymakers and attracting young people. And after 2 years of hard work, we succeeded in be recognized by most, by all bodies in Sudan. And our lesson learned, we learned a lot of lessons, but the main lesson is knock and keep knocking until the door is open and the desire is met. Because being engaged as a young leader can bring effective and positive change. We aspire, by 2030, we aspire to empower and inspire over than 10,000 young leaders, including more than 5,000 young women, to provide water solution in their community so that 1 million people can enjoy having access to clean water and sanitation and relish decent life, upholding human rights to water and sanitation. Thank you. Over to you, Madam Moderator.
Thank you very much, Doa, for sharing this very inspiring achievement from the Sudanese Youth Parliament for Water. I'm always very impressed by how fast you grow and how far you've come. So congratulations. Unfortunately, we don't have time for questions for Doa, but she will remain connected with us for the second part of the session. So you're welcome to interact with her if possible. So now will be the time for the more interactive discussions. Like Eileen mentioned, we will have for the second part of the session 3 breakout rooms. So the first breakout room will focus on actions on the ground, the second one on research, and the third one on advocacy and mobilization. So to join one of the breakout rooms, you have to click in the Zoom links pasted in the chat box. A moderator will be there to guide you for the second part of the session. So please join one of the 3 rooms. If you want to attend the advocacy and mobilization, you just have to stay in this room. Thank you very much.
Okay, we will wait a minute or two before we start in this group 3. So we'd wait for everyone to ensure that they're in a group. So this group that it's at in this room, we'll be looking at advocacy and mobilization. I guess we should start to ensure to keep on time. So everyone here, thank you and welcome to breakout room 3 on advocacy and youth mobilization. My name is Rihanna Gonzalez. I am the youth engagement specialist at the Global Water Partnership based in Stockholm, Sweden. During this breakout session, we'll be speaking to 2 young leaders about their journey to strengthen youth engagement to influence policy, water policy and decision making. We will have the opportunity to gain feedback from a policymaker on their initiatives, and also you will be given an opportunity to input your thoughts and opinions on the different barriers, drivers, and enablers on youth advocacy and mobilization. We welcome you to also, if you have any questions, you could place that in the chat, which will be monitored. And to keep with time, I will quickly move on and share, introduce you to my co-facilitator, Abhishek Narayan, who is the coordinator for the Swiss Water Partnership Youth, who will introduce you to our panelists and take you from there. Abhishek?
Yes, thank you so much, Rihanna. Every single year at Stockholm, this youth session is something that's really exciting. And although this year we are doing this virtually, I think it's not going to be too different, because we still have 3 really inspirational people as guests on the panel today. The first of whom will be Arun Krishnamurthy, second is Sharif Mahmudov, and third is Henkering. I will go on to individually introduce them and ask each of them to speak on this broad topic of how can youth engage best with decision-making in water. So first, if I could invite Arun Krishnamurthy. Let me first introduce you to Arun. Arun is a dear friend, and he's the founder of the Environmentalist Foundation of India. It's a volunteer-based ecological lake restoration group in India, and they've done over 100 lakes across the country in the last 10 years. They've ecologically and scientifically tried to restore it. And what is really interesting about this whole movement is the fact that EFI engages with the local community, IT professionals, and most importantly, young people from schools and colleges. In fact, when I was still in high school, I was volunteering with EFI quite often on the weekends. So first, let me ask Arun this first question of what was the evolution of EFI, and did you always have this support of policymakers? And you know, in some way, could you give us a sense of what is EFI and how it has evolved in the last decade? Over to you.
Thank you. Thanks for that, Abhishek. Thanks for that kind introduction. Namaste from India. Thanks to all of you for joining this session. I have an advantage over the other speakers that it's raining heavily behind me. So I bring water to this water session. And that's exactly what our work also has been focusing on, which is an organization which is a platform for doers, people who want to see real-time action on ground with regards to environment conservation, something which is science-based, where people can work in their own limitation. So EFI is a volunteer-driven, science-backed up conservation group focusing on neighborhood lakes and ponds. A larger idea behind starting this organization was, why should we wait for somebody else? And in a democratic country like India, there is a platform available for common citizens to come together and work on real-time projects based on the legal framework. That is how we've been able to take up one lake after the other, clean it up, and revive it. While reviving that lake, there are so many scientific challenges. There are so many real-time challenges that one has to go up with. And that's exactly what I'm going to show you here through this blog that I am sharing. I hope you're able to see the screen. Yes. So when you get onto this blog later, for the interest of time, I'm not going to go deep into this. What you'll get to see is the different water bodies that we've taken up and we've revived. What was the problem at each water body? Was it a garbage issue? Was it a sewage issue? And was it an encroachment issue? Climate change as an issue in an urban center like Chennai, Bombay, Bangalore? Then how do we revive this water body and how do we sustain that effort? There are several innovations that come into place based on current day, modern day threats and the current day requirements, which includes these constructed wetlands, the recharge wells, and a lot more that needs to be designed for that particular water body. There cannot be a template-based restoration model, but there has to be a customized solution for every lake or a pond that we take up. This is exactly what we're trying to do. And how do we engage the public? There has to be a sense of interest, right? So India is a colorful, dynamic country where people love their dance, drama, music, and more. And we use all these tools. We use all these tools, from wall painting to having large mobilization of volunteers for cleanups, plantation. All these, of course, in the pre-pandemic days. The last 5 months have been logged in and we've been doing virtual sessions like these. We have a project called Cycle Lakes where fitness enthusiasts are taken to lakes on bicycles. So we try to marry in every factor of fitness, art, passion for plants, passion for water bodies, and somehow engage the public real time at the water body. When we do that, we see these colorful results. That's exactly what we've been aiming to work towards, reviving and restoring water bodies in a collaborative way, where the public does not have to donate money, but gives in his or her time. The government pitches in with administrative permissions and more. A lot of scientific backup, research, and execution on ground by EFI. Sorry about that. And the government to be the administrative partner, as I mentioned, and the corporates here who have the financial resources to fund such restorations. All of this can be seen on the site efiblog.org. And for the interest of time, I'll stop here and we'll take up questions and more later. Thank you. Jai Hind.
Thank you so much, Arun. That's fantastic. It's always inspirational to hear you speak. Next, before we move on to the next speaker, I just want to tell everyone who's signed into this session, we are going to be running out of time. I can already tell it to you in advance. So if you have questions to the panelists, please feel free to use the Q&A box. And I request the panelists to also, as you see questions addressed to you, to please feel free to answer. Rihanna is also going to be moderating the Q&A session. So please feel free to ask questions so that we have different modes of engagement. So next, let me introduce you to Sherif Muhammadov. He is the national coordinator of the Central Asian Youth Network for Water. He's also the head of the water supply in the Agency of Land Reclamation and Irrigation at the government of Tajikistan. So to you, Sherif, I want to ask you, to just very quickly give us an overview of your youth network and what are some of the projects that they are engaged in. So, and after that, I'll come back to Henk with questions and then we'll try to have a very quick round of discussion. Over to you, Sherif.
Thank you very much. Hello, dear friends. My name is Sharif Mahmoudov. I'm representing the Kite Water Network, and let me give you some brief information about our network. Can you hear me?
Yes.
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 Central Asia Youth for Water Network is a youth network supporting the development of young water professionals in Central Asia and Afghanistan. So let me how to full screen. Yes. The main goal of the network is empowerment of new generation of water leaders in Central Asia to contribute a sustainable and peaceful development of the regions through improve transboundary integrated water resources management. And the main objective of this network is giving youth a voice by
Sheriff, I think we kind of lost you.
Hello?
Yes. We can't see your screen though, so if you could share it again, that would be excellent.
Okay. Okay. Is it good now?
No.
No.
So, I mean, if screen share is not working in the interest of time, it's all right. You can still, you know, verbally tell us a bit more about the network.
Maybe I just tell you without screen, yes? Okay.
Yeah, that's perfect.
Yeah.
Thank you.
The main objective of our network is giving youth a voice by empowering young water leaders and providing opportunities for connecting them among the states in the region and with international community. And the second is action on the ground. And it means young water leaders to influence and implement actions at local and regional level based on enhanced skills and knowledge. And providing wide outreach of the youth voice and activities to foster an open dialogue, including on water and peace. And slide 3, that unfortunately you cannot see, yes, is youth mobilization. We are acting on 3 levels, on local level, on regional level, and in international level. On local level, the activities at local level include small-scale projects involving
I think we lost you again, Sheriff.
Hello?
Yes.
I'm sorry,
the
connection is so bad. That is why.
That's completely fine. It's one of the challenges we have to overcome.
Yeah.
But maybe, Sheriff, if you could just summarize.
Maybe I will tell you the success stories. The success stories which we achieved this year. This year, from the government and from the Ministry of Energy and Water Resources, we get permission on sustainable participation of youth in basin councils. And as well as right to vote in right to vote. It means youth can vote in basin councils. They have voice. And now young scientists and students invited to every basin councils to present their reports, their research, and in this way they expand their network of communication with international and with national experts. This is the main achievement of use of Tajikistan and we can say Central Asia. That is all. Yeah.
That is excellent, Sharif. It's very interesting to have you on the panel because you're someone who works for the national government and you're also, you know, coordinator of a youth network. So I'm going to come back to you with some questions soon. But before that, can I also ask Hank to join in? First, to the audience, let me introduce you to the world's first and only water ambassador. Henk Wink is the special envoy for international water affairs from the Kingdom of Netherlands. He's a super strong advocate for youth involvement in water decision making, and anybody who's involved in, you know, one of the youth water networks for sure know that they can rely on Hank for any sort of support they need. So thank you so much for being with us here, Hank. To you, my main question is, now that you heard these two different, very diverse contexts of youth mobilization and involvement in the water sector, what do you think is the key aspects that help enable effective youth engagement in the water sector? from your experience and also from what you heard from these two young water leaders.
Thanks, Abhishek. Thank you so much for your kind words. Also, it's great to be with you. Not so young anymore, but very much committed to youth action and engagement. What is I think there are some real challenges, and I think Doha really put it very clearly. Continue to knock on the door. Consistent knocking on that door is like the way to do it. And this is not only for youth. This goes for all the change we need and should demand in the world. If we look at the Paris Agreement and the SDGs, 5 years ago, that we set the agenda for a better world. Where are we now? We're not very close. So that this is not only this consistency, continuity, and commitment is not only for the young. It is for everyone and everybody a challenge. But what you bring is the capacity to help speed up, help catalyze, bring new insights, new ideas, and a type of commitment and way of building coalitions that is critically important to help us all deliver. So it's the other part is it can never be by youth alone. And it can also not be an excuse for the non-young generation to leave it only in your hands. So it really demands a collaborative approach with all. And I think this is the other big challenge, is that everybody, of course, works, well, not of course, I challenge this, you challenge this, but if we look around the world, everybody is working in their own silos. And those are silos in sectors. Water sector versus the rest of the world, silos in institutes, government, private tech, even between governments, between borders, silos in interests. What I have or what you have is disputed. So collaboration is critically important, and I think that is also something the youth really brings, is that you help the world cut across those silos. Never forget the power you have with that. So I think last, the impatience. I feel very much connected to that too. Why should you wait? Everything is slow, we know. Building infrastructure in whatever, is it by nature or in water? All over the world takes a lot of time, but we don't have the time. We have to change course now and fast. And in the context of this pandemic, in the recovery efforts, we really face a massive challenge. What is happening now around the world is making us more vulnerable and less sustainable. All the money that goes into recovery is not focused on the right type of investment. The focus is on jobs and the economy and short-term fixes, band-aid approaches, while we agreed upon an agenda, the SDGs and the Paris Agreement, that actually looks beyond. So we look back in this recovery effort, and the burden is not on you, but with you, we can have a stronger voice, in a more compelling voice, but also a better coalition. For that, of course, we need to open the door. And you also call on me as a policymaker, as an ambassador, as a diplomat, in how to bring you in. And I do this. You know this, but it's not easy. So it's not only enough to open the door, it's also you have to enter and continue to knock on the door, or knock the door down to ensure that you continue to be part of this process. The example is water as leverage. In the procurement rules, it said the young from all ages have to be part of the coalitions that develop the programs and projects. So not the receivers on the end, but being part of the ideas, the initiation, all the way towards implementation. And then when the market fulfills such a procurement, of course they can. So it's also asking the right questions, ensuring that you're part of the process from the beginning to the end, and having a voice. And I must say the stories, the two in the session, but also the story of Doha and Sudan, are of course very convincing, but I think we have to make sure that they are heard all over the world to ensure that others pick this up too. Slam down the door, not only knocking, but do it in a way that it is also, I mean, it's so easy said, but it's so hard to do. It can't become a blame game. It has to continue to be this collaborative, but that not always happens by itself. So also use your friends outside of the youth world. Partner with as many people and organizations as you can find as possible to ensure you have the broadest constituency for youth engagement across what you do. Thanks so much to all. I really applaud your work and your courage. Continue with that courage, please. And yes, as Abhishek said, you can always call on us. We're there.
Thank you so much for that, Hank. I think it's excellent to hear from you. And I think the one line that the cartoonist also has noted down, and the one line that kind of is in my mind as well, is knock on the door, keep knocking on the door, and knock the door down. So that's definitely the.
Can I add something? There is also bring a table when you knock on the door, so people can sit around it. It's not only enough to say here, hello, I'm here. No, your ideas, not only on solutions, but especially on the process of engagement, on working together, in bringing your talent and the talent of others, and really thinking and working real inclusive, looking at women and children and so forth. I think that is critically important. It's not only showing with a knock on the door, hey, I'm here, I want to be part. No, you should be part, but you can also really help define both the agenda, what needs to be done, and how to get it done. And this collaborative capacity you bring, this organizing capacity you bring is critically important. So knocking down the door is not enough. Bring in the furniture. Yeah.
Thank you for that, Hank. So now, since this has been a lot of us talking, for the audience, can I request Rihanna to paste the link of a Miro board on the chat box, so that you guys heard what Hank said, what Arun said, and what Sherif also said. Different aspects of these drivers and enablers for this ecosystem. And what I would request from the audience is, if you have more ideas on effective youth engagement and what are the other key enablers and drivers and barriers for this, please go to the Miro board and then put in your post-it notes, the virtual ones, on the board. What we are going to do is, right after this session, in the following weeks, we want to try and collect these ideas, not just from this panel, but also the 2 other breakout rooms that's happening, and try to come up with some sort of a working paper. So your ideas will be super valuable. We're already running out of time. What I am going to ask of the panelists is a very quick rapid fire round, as people can go on, and if you just click on the link, you can already access the Miro board, super user friendly. Please do it. While we can see that happening, can I ask like a rapid fire set of questions to Arun, Sherif, and Henk as closing words? First to Sherif, are you on with us, Sherif? The question to you is...
Yes, I'm hearing you. I'm hearing you.
Perfect. So the question to you is, just in 3 points, if you could tell us what were the major drivers in your case of effectively engaging the youth through the network, trying to procure this right to vote and things like that. What were the 3 main factors or the drivers for this?
Drivers, you mean?
Yes, drivers, yes.
The first thing is, how to say, in my case, is in case of national coordinators, the drivers are national coordinators at first, because if they not work, they will not be anything.
Yep. Okay. Am I not able to hear you say the second point, Sheriff?
The second point is
Sheriff, we can't hear you again. Okay, in the interest of time, I'm going to pass that question to Arun and ask him to fill the next 2 points of drivers for youth engagement.
Necessity, right? Urban necessity or the compulsion, that's what drove us to take action on ground. Urban flooding or urban drought, lack of clean water. And it's not like the picture is so dire, right? The government is putting in so many efforts, but end of day, climate change in our backyards is beyond one institution, one man's solution. It has to be a lot more. And what was a solution 5 years ago does not stand ground today. So that's exactly what's pushed us as one driver. And the second driver is, of course, that nature is more rewarding than any man-made effort, right? You work for nature, you work for any nature conservation program, the benefits that one draws, psychological, physical well-being, the explorative spirit, the experiences on ground. So that's the second driver that keeps us going.
Fantastic. Can I just ask you to give me one barrier that you had to overcome while trying to reach out to the policymakers and try to mobilize youth? What was the one single barrier? Because I know for sure when you started EFI on day one, you didn't have the support of the IAS officers or the policymakers on day one.
No, I'll put it this way. Human mindset is the biggest barrier of them all, right? It could be that of the administration, it could be that of a donor, it could be that of an academician, it could be that of a field worker. End of day, to me, all of them are human beings, and that personal ego and the thought about that we are bigger than the planet, that's such a huge hindrance when it comes to conservation, right? Even when we are trying to work on a water project, the first solutions that everybody wants to draw or design is human centric. How would human beings benefit out of it? It's not about whether the planet can survive, sustain, and whether our future generations would at least have what we have today, if not what we had better in the past. So administrative, funding, academic, or field workers, the human mindset is the biggest barrier. And I think it's not going to change anytime soon, unfortunately.
Well, I hope the COVID pandemic teaches us otherwise and kinds of gives
it's only
us
brought
impetus.
More medical waste. It's only brought more medical waste to our water bodies. That's the sad part, unfortunately.
But like one famous person said, never waste a crisis.
Yes.
So we're going to turn that into an opportunity, and that famous person is Henk. So Henk, can I ask you the final word on? So we had some points on drivers and barriers, but you have a more global overview. So could you tell us what would be the 3 main enablers of this ecosystem for youth to get engaged in decision making? So what would be the enablers for this in terms of building the ecosystem?
Well, it's a tough question. I think the biggest enabler are you yourself. And I must say, I totally agree with Arun that the people are they're also their biggest barriers, not only for the environment, not only for our SDGs and equality, not only for reaching a Paris Agreement, but also for including the young. So only the idea that you have to continue to knock on the door in itself is already a little bit ridiculous. So the enablers are you, but you will also find your partners among all stakeholders. And I think this is where it's going to be critically important. The future lies not in the hand of one institution, organization, or group, region. It lies in the hands of all, and that makes it very vulnerable because it almost sounds like if it's from everybody, then nobody really owns it. And this type of ownership still is critically important. a big barrier comes from our vested interests in the past. And with every crisis, we tend to look back. And when we look back, we think this is where we came from, this is where we have to go back. So we replicate our mistakes, and with that make ourselves, our planet, our environment, also our societies more vulnerable. So, of course, learn from the past, but look ahead and find inspiration and innovation and opportunities in understanding the future, not only dreaming about the future, but really understanding that future with best science, data, and your capacity. So I think a collaborative approach where you're all part of helps inform that understanding, builds an enabling environment, creates the opportunity to invest in opportunities that will last longer than anything else. So the proof of that will in the end be in the environment we all live in. What is then an enabler? In enabler are these collaborations. So it's better to invest in people than in projects. Although Arun might there's a little tension with what you said, but the people in the end are the only ones that can change to shy away from their own interest. It's not by nature that things change, it's by people that we work by nature. So investing in the process, in engagement, helps spur and catalyze actions that do look ahead. Focusing only on projects and infrastructure means that we take, right now in the current situation, projects off the shelf, in my words, that are stupid infrastructure, that destruct and make us more vulnerable. So invest in the people, in collaborative processes, in accountability and transparency, hold each other accountable in these type of processes to ensure that inclusion is not a word on paper, but is really a process in action. And I think that is the biggest enabler. And then it's not about the young alone, but it's about partnerships where the youth have a critical role, both in awareness, activation, looking ahead, but also making sure we are all engaged. And that doesn't mean that the burden is on you, it's on all of us. It's no excuse for anyone to not stick. But I think the biggest hurdle are the vested interests. And those vested interests lie in the past. And overcoming them, we can only do this by collaboration. And of course, the inspiration, the ideas, the opportunities with that, the business cases, because this is about values. This is not about profits. We have to turn the mechanisms around that we start to invest in the future, not based on those past models. But this is not easy. I'm very sorry. I don't have a good easy answer for this.
Yeah. I guess there is no easy answer to any complex question. But thank you for those.
That you have to accept. The complexity is also amazing, because if there's one species on this planet that understands this complexity, it's us. The only thing is we shy away because of our vested interest, but we do understand it. So the complexity is also the way forward for the solution. If we dare to understand that complexity and face it in the eye, this is where the solutions are, because inclusive and holistic, comprehensive understanding leads to inclusive, holistic, and comprehensive solutions. And those are sustainable, those are resilient, those build capacity, those are about creating a better world. Only if we silo ourselves up and do single focused, stupid infrastructure investment, we will lose this battle.
Yes.
Sorry, Abhishek. Thank you so much for
that's perfect.
Flexibility.
Because I thought we were going to end on a super nice note. I had a quote from you. It said, learn from the past and then look to the future. But also this is another nice, I guess the complexity and of the problem also leads to the complexity in solution, which is what we need to look to. But I want to thank all the panelists once again for giving us so much input in such a short time. I mean, 45 minutes is just a dot in time when we look at the big scheme of things as to what we need to unpack. So I want to stop here saying a big round of thanks from my side. While this has been happening, the Miro board has been collecting a lot of ideas, not just from our session, but if you zoom out, you will find other ideas as well. So maybe in just less than a minute, if I could ask Rihanna to see if she has any bright points from the other Miro boards to share with this audience. With that, we can close. Thank you so much once again to all the participants from my side and to the panelists for sharing their insights and their time. Thank you.
Thank you.
Right. Thank you, Abhishek, and thank you, everyone. You all have a link to the Miro board. Right now, I'm sharing what has been done on our Miro board. As you can see, a lot of input has been come from our participants. It will still be open for the rest of the evening, so you can continue to share. But I will also share with you, if you zoom out, you can go to the other breakout sessions. Example, in terms of what is happening in breakout room 2. They've identified some other barriers, drivers, and enablers that in terms of research initiatives. So we have some overlaps in looking at data, education, the interaction between decision makers. So we see there's a lot of overlap in group. Okay, a lot is happening in group 1. Wow. So group 1 is very colorful. Again, a lot of similar ideas in terms of individuals and organization and the programs. We even have things such as egos and fair. So this is looking at on the ground initiatives. So you can also take your time and go through this Miro board as well. We have very much over time. So, but you can take your time and go through this. So I hope everyone enjoyed this session. I hope it was eye-opening. We had a lot of great stories, a lot of input, and thank you to our panelists and participants. So yeah, enjoy the rest of your day, and all the information will be shared on the CUE website. So yeah, thank you so much. Have a good evening, everyone.
Thank you. Good evening.